listen, more than half of people who go to music gigs or festivals or nightclubs experience tinnitus or hearing loss, according to a new report out today. The Royal National Institute for Deaf People is saying that it can take just 15 minutes for permanent hearing damage, just lasting for the rest of your life, to occur at a music event of 100 decibels or above.
Just 15 minutes. Well, 22-year-old Caris Lount has had tinnitus her entire life. And she's raising awareness about the importance of hearing protection. Now, the sound we're about to play to you is similar to what Caris's tinnitus sounds like to her. So I just want to give you a warning that some people might find this sound uncomfortable to hear. Listen to this.
Is that it?
Well, Caris is here with us, and Dr. Amir also joins us from West Yorkshire. Caris, that sound that we played, it's with you, what, morning, noon and night, from all the time?
It's 24/7. It can be a very, very terrifying thing, but for me, I've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
And I've had it for as long as I can remember. But it wasn't until university where I really started to notice the impacts this loud ringing was having.
Why?
Because
what changed at uni?
So when I went out clubbing, the loud noise exposure would spike my tinnitus so bad to the point where if I was sitting here right now and talking to you guys, I wouldn't be able to hear you because my tinnitus would be that loud.
So
that
it aggravated it?
Yeah, it aggravated it. It just made it spike so loud, and this spike could last for about 3 weeks at a time. It was debilitating, and I couldn't leave my bedroom because I could not be bothered to engage in conversation with people when I cannot hear people. I couldn't do anything.
So this sounds like a really silly question, but something like a hearing aid wouldn't help?
They can help, yes, because with tinnitus comes hearing loss often, and that's the case for myself. I have actually got hearing aids, but I usually put them in times of need where...
Are they in now?
They're not in right now because my tinnitus isn't at a spiking level. It's, you know, tolerable for myself. But they are usually helpful when there is loud noise around because it just amplifies people talking.
Can it, you know, we talk about nightclubs and music and stuff, but like, presumably, if you're sitting, say, at a coffee pavement cafe and a big motorbike goes by, and a lot of them are definitely in breach of the decibel levels, they're over 100, that might spark it off as well.
It can, and it has for myself in the past, and it does for many other people. But usually for myself it has to be quite loud, but for others they can have reactive tinnitus, which is very, very sensitive, and it can react to these like things that are just general noises, you know, people that take for granted.
So how have you come to terms with it? I mean,
or have you? Or have you? We're assuming. Yeah.
It took a while. I mean, I've had it my whole life, and the older I got, the more aware I became of it. So, you know, as I grew up, I began to realise, oh, this isn't normal. I tried to seek help, but the difficult thing with tinnitus is when you go to the doctors, they can't give you a typical pill to get rid of it because there is no cure. Yeah, it's, you know, it's terrifying. You leave the doctors without any sort of pill or anything like that to get rid of it. You have to find your own way around it, and it's all down to you to actually learn to live with it.
Just one more question before we talk to the doctor. Does it stop you going to sleep at night?
It can, yeah.
Really?
It really can. I often go to bed with, like, wave noises, cricket sounds, just to mask that noise that I hear.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Gosh. Dr. Amir joins us now from West Yorkshire. Amir, so, number one, let's start at the very beginning. What is it? What is tinnitus?
Yeah, morning. So tinnitus is a sound, as Caris can hear there. It can be a whooshing sound, a whistling, a ringing sound in your ears. That's coming from inside, so no one else can hear it. There's no outside source for it. And it's generally caused by damage to parts of the ear. When we hear loud noises in particular, the ear is very sensitive. It sends sound impulses through to the brain, but loud noises vibrate the fluid part of your inner ear very hard and fast. And that can damage the tiny, very delicate hair cells, which then send impulses to the brain, and so you can hear things. But if there's damage done to those hair cells through loud noises, they can either send random impulses to the brain, which sounds like tinnitus, or if they become permanently damaged, that can result in hearing loss.
Here's what troubled me about this report this morning from the Royal National Institute for Deaf People, is that even a 15-minute exposure in a loud nightclub at over 100 decibels can't just make you a bit deaf, a bit hard of hearing for a few days, give you a bit of tinnitus, but it can actually ruin your hearing for life. 15, is that, I mean, did that surprise you as a doctor?
It doesn't surprise me. I think we need to have more education around loud noises and the damage that it can do. Fortunately, that kind of 15-minute exposure to loud noises causing permanent damage to hearing loss is rare. It's possible, but it's rare. And what we want people to know is the damage that loud noises from headphones, concerts, nightclubs, anything like that can cause. Because as Caris was saying there, hearing loss itself makes you withdraw from conversations, and that can be a very lonely place. And we know that hearing loss itself is a risk factor for dementia. It can increase your risk of dementia by 5 times because it perpetuates that loneliness and withdrawal from social activities.
I wanted to ask you that. Sorry about that. I wanted to follow up on that because I've read this so many times that being partially deaf, being hard of hearing, is a direct link into dementia. And is that purely because you desocialise? As you were saying, you don't take part in conversations, and so therefore your brain isn't being stimulated by kind of human intercourse.
More isolated,
Is that the reason?
Yeah. That's right. We don't know the exact cause, but that's the theory behind it. And recent evidence as well shows that people who are partially sighted are at increased risk of dementia as well for the same reasons. We think they withdraw from conversation. So that social interaction, being with people, talking to people, without that certainly does increase your risk of dementia. And when you're deaf and you can't participate in conversations, or you're repeatedly asking people to say things again, you just don't want to do that. So you pull out of those conversations, and that increases your risk of dementia.
Amir, you know, in summer, you know, you see a lot of people at pubs where there are bands, at concerts outside. Now, I don't know about you, Richard, but it concerns me when I see people with children and people with babies, and, you know, mum and dad are enjoying the music. Our children, our infants, our babies, is their threshold for damage to their ears lower than it is for adults? Do we need to be especially wary of, you know, children experiencing loud noises?
Well, tinnitus itself is more common in older people. It's part of a natural aging process for some people, but there's lots of other things that can cause it as well. Children are sensitive to hearing damage and hearing loss. So it is really important that we protect children from those loud noises and protect all of our hearings. I know it's not cool to talk about wearing headphones or kind of earplugs when you go to concerts and that kind of thing, just to manage those noise levels. But education is key. Knowing that those noise levels can damage your hearing, can damage the hearing of your children is what's important. And then you can make an informed choice about whether you want to protect your hearing long term.
Finally, is there any kind of cure for tinnitus on the horizon?
Not really, Richard. It depends on the cause. There's a list of causes that can cause tinnitus. So things like, we have to look at whether it's medication causing it, whether there's anything serious like a tumour, particularly if it's one-sided tinnitus or pulsatile tinnitus. But in general terms, there's no particular cure for tinnitus right now. Caris has described distraction techniques, which we use, white noise techniques, which we use, hearing aids as well. But at the moment, there is no cure on the horizon for tinnitus. So the best thing to do is to prevent it and protect your hearing.
Absolutely. Caris, just to finish off with you, do you now wear headphones when you go to a concert?
I do, and it stopped these debilitating spikes, you know.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Everyone should wear them. It just takes one simple thing of putting in, like, disposable, reusable hearing protection, and, you know, you're saving yourself from irreversible damage.
And what's the best interference noise that you found when you're trying to get to sleep?
Oh, I'd say ocean waves.
Ocean waves?
Yeah,
because
so relaxing.
It sort of matches the hits that you're hearing. And,
it just masks it completely. I mean, some people have high pitch, low pitch. Mine's kind of the mid-range frequency.
OK. Well, thanks very much for coming in and talking about it.
Thank you very much.
Interesting.